one that I've been waiting to review with you guys because as much as I love 1 and 2, I love
This
shitting on
is
3 so much. And the fact that I just watched this like 7 hours ago because I was running behind on movies. It's all fresh in my head, so I can't wait to shit on it.
oh, it's a mess, a beautiful mess.
Welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast spotlights. I'm Nicho,
And I'm Chris.
and while we have a little bit more of Spider-Man, we're doing Spider-Man 3. That's got a little bit more of an attitude problem and dances too groovily with Cal. Welcome in,
Glad
Cal.
to be back, and I cannot wait to review this. This has been on my mind since we talked about it because this is the one I really wanted to hear both your take on. So I am excited. I've got notes. I've got behind the scenes information. Let's have some fun.
Yeah.
I would argue this movie has been on everyone's minds since we first watched it in 2007. I don't think it has ever left anyone's consciousness. I think, unfortunately, it had memeified itself before memes were even really that much of a thing. Like, this movie cast itself into the social spotlight hard.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think probably, and Cal, since you've watched the special features, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think part of it is we have a major change up in the writing department with Sam Raimi, Ivan Raimi, and Alvin's Sargent coming in to write the third movie.
We sure do. And another big tonal shift was the music. We've left Danny Elfman, who had a very distinct style that a lot of people liked, and now we're over to Christopher Young, who, don't get me wrong, is a good composer. Totally different shift for the movie, though.
Yeah, and shift in villainry. We have Thomas Hayden Church coming in as Sandman and Flint Marko, and Topher Grace as Eddie Brock in Venom.
The start of Venom.
Oh god, I have so much to say already. So, on one hand, yeah, we have the writing change. I think the main issue was just studio involvement because I read a lot of articles, see interviews with Raimi, and one of the things the thing I've noticed was he hated Venom. He did not want to do Venom. He did not want to incorporate him. Sony made him do it, probably because for toys and stuff, really, at the end of the day. But Sony just was so dead set of bringing him into it. And it shows he did not like Venom one bit.
So they brought in Venom because they were annoyed that Raimi was doing his favorites, and they wanted to have someone in it that was more widely recognizable than just like these deep kind of more hidden fan or deep fan villains.
Sure, but I think as we will very easily see, there's a way to do Venom very well. And then there's a way to do Venom like this movie. And unfortunately, this is this movie.
I haven't seen the Venom movies.
The Venom movies aren't for you. Let me just put that out right now. The Venom movies are for women who read scary monster romances. And they knew that, and they made money on that.
It's about monster fucking, isn't it?
Not directly, but you can't be a fan of Venom and also not a fan of Monster.
It's basically like honestly, it really is a relationship between Eddie and Venom. And somebody said that after watching the first one. I'm like, that's kind of what it is. And they really doubled down on the other two. But yeah, you could do Venom a lot better than what this film did because I just so much wrong. We have a lot to talk about with Venom.
Get into it, Cal. What's your biggest fault with Venom?
I think the biggest thing was just casting. Yeah. I think that has to be like my number one problem because like I said, some of the behind the scenes trivia was Topher Grace was desperately trying to not be Eric Foreman anymore. And it shows because this was right when That 70s Show was in its height of popularity. So he actually left the last season of it to go film this. And it just, like, I feel like it's just Eric Foreman trying to be like Eddie Brock. And it just shows so much because he feels miscast. None of the lines he delivers, he sounds, like, intimidating to me. And Venom is meant to be Spider-Man's true arch nemesis because he's meant to be the Venom to Spider-Man because he took all the things he had but made it better because that's what the Venom symbiote did. And I didn't buy any of that with Topher Grace. I've seen this so many times. I just don't buy with him. And I feel like he tried his best, but it just wasn't for him at all. And just knowing that in the back of my head that Sam Raimi didn't want to do it either, just it shows. And they didn't even really try to get his character right. He kept saying I when Venom is meant to be two people. It's meant to be Venom and the person inside. So that just really irked me when he kept saying, "Oh, I think this," or "I think," and they tried, they failed, and I wish they just never used him. Or if they did, I have a way they should have done it instead. We can get into later, but
Well, and it's another example of the first two Spider-Man's movies from this series do such a good job of having different examples of a Jekyll and Hyde sort of villain, where you really feel compassionate about both characters. Like one is truly villainous, and you do have some form of sympathy for the first one, two in very different ways. And this one, Venom is really like a very good example of like, oh, he's built in Jekyll and Hyde potential, and they kind of sort of write it there, but then they lose it so quickly by just unfortunately miswriting Venom's character entirely, and that just really ruins it.
Well, I think part of what it is it's an attempt to kind of repeat how in the first two we had the villains be a potential reflection of what Peter could have been, whereas now he doesn't have anyone to fight against like that. What he's already fought, he's fought two father figures.
True.
Now this is supposed to be an internal struggle, but instead, Brock from the get-go, before he even turns into Venom, he's a loser. Like, I mean, he's supposed to be that nearer to Parker as well, but he's really just, he's an asshole who sets himself up for failure from the get-go. And I mean, he thinks he's hot shit like Peter as well.
Well, and also they severely underpower Venom in this movie to the point where we have now two other bad guys come in to kind of help make this an interesting battle. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for like a really stacked battle. This is the third movie. It would have made sense to have like the ultimate showdown, but it's between two new Spider-Man villains and only one recurring sort of villain. That's a weird thing to do. It would make more sense to be like, oh, well, Doc Ock is also back. That would have been more interesting than... we also get Sandman in this movie, which could have also been a cool character. They at least wrote him a little bit more interesting. His actor tried his damn best, but there's just not a lot to work with, unfortunately, for this one.
One of the things they could have really tried to do with Venom, and I think this is what my main thing was, is we had two characters we could have used in Spider-Man 2 that would have been a better Venom than Venom. You had Jameson's kid, who already was going to be pissed at Peter regardless, and Venom feeds off of the anger towards Peter Parker and Spider-Man. So that would have made sense if they made him Venom, because he was an astronaut. He could have just randomly had to come back on his spaceship. Next thing you know, he's just attacked, and that's what happens. Or it could have been Harry. They could have never gone with the Green Goblin stuff, and they should have just made it him, because they already established him being someone who hated Peter, and it would have made sense that the Venom symbiote would have just fed off that anger. Because they brought in Eddie Brock out of the blue.
But then we couldn't have had all the toys.
I think, okay, here's my thoughts on that. I think Harry works better as a hobgoblin, as he's continuing his father's legacy. It pairs in with the themes of the second one, of him following his dad's footsteps, but he's not kind of a scientist. He has zero science experience.
He's just rich, and I love that.
I like the idea of Jameson's son being Venom. I also like the idea of Jameson also potentially being Venom himself. That would have been a great like tie, because he really hates Spider-Man. There's like that love-hate with him.
Yeah, it's true. That would have been more interesting than, unfortunately, a very miscast.
But I think the biggest issue with this is by the time we get to the third movie, we've run out of ways to introduce Peter to potentially other people that he can connect to on a personal level.
Sure.
Harry knows his secret identity.
Yeah.
He hates him.
Yeah.
MJ knows his identity. I mean,
and she's crazy.
Yeah, Aunt May. So those are like the three people close to him. So Harry can't introduce him to another scientist. MJ's not going to introduce him to anyone.
Which, again, this is, I think, where... And part of it is Sam Raimi just not having as much interest and involvement in this as we, I think, probably hoped. And also a big change in writing staff here with, I think, what was originally supposed to be a start towards introducing more superheroes from other franchises starting to come in and fill what is now the role of Tony Stark in the newer Spider-Mans. That wasn't a thing yet, though. It wasn't, they didn't get to do it. And so it just leaves this weird power vacuum for Spider-Man.
Yeah, so I agree with that. I think the other thing, too, is one, we do have studio involvement. And Cal, this ties to a movie that we covered years ago.
Oh, God, yeah.
And are covering a sequel later this year. This movie is directly responsible for Ghost Rider probably being shittier than it should have been.
Yeah, my God.
Because they used Sandman, Ghost Rider had to completely change its villain structure. Because
I've heard of this before, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, Ghost Rider was supposed to face against these different elements to learn his powers and use them in creative ways. Instead, they had to really dumb it down because they couldn't have a sand person to fight because, oh no, it might compete and people might be confused with who Sandman is in Spider-Man 3.
That just sounds so dumb.
I'm not gonna lie, I would have preferred a Sandman crossover between Nick Cage and Spider-Man. That would have been more interesting.
I would have loved to have seen that.
Who knows? They might do a Spider Noir.
Yeah, I mean that is technically he's going to be involved with it, and they might just make a little reference to that because they just very easily could.
I mean, the man desperately wants to be a superhero. Let him.
You know, and to your point, that actually makes sense, Nacho, because even now, like, Disney is still afraid, like, really random, obscure thing, but Drax the Destroyer, he's actually green, but people kept saying, oh, people compare him to the Hulk, so we have to make him gray, and I'm like, who gives a shit? No one would have thought that. I didn't even think of that right away. No one's going to think that, but
especially
sure,
since it's
you do
literally
you.
Isn't Gamora green?
Yeah, but she's a girl.
So why was She-Hulk?
I know that's because like that makes sense because studios just
they knew She-Hulk was gonna flop. They made She-Hulk to appease some shareholders somewhere, and they were like, put every crappy thing in there, just go, and they did. There was no effort.
They throw shit on the wall, and then if it's stuck, then that's what they went with at that point. That's really that entire season was of that, but it makes sense because a lot of studios just don't really understand their audiences still. Like you could say that for a lot of companies trying to do all like even for just video games, they don't know what they're doing. That's why they assumed, oh, people are going to get confused. Like I wouldn't have made the connection at all because I didn't see that Ghost Rider sequel. I just never did. And or was it the first one you said, or was it the second one?
Second one.
Yeah, I never saw it. I would have never made the comparison, and even then, I don't think most people would have. They would just been, oh, sand-based villain, no big deal.
Well, and here's the thing, and it all derives, like Nico said, from the Disneyfication. And that is because Disney originally had to do this kind of color coordinated bullshit because Disney's original quote unquote multiverse was the Princess Universe. However, the Princess Universe exists totally differently than the superhero worlds do because those are coming from comic books where you have lots of room to evolve and bring stuff together, whereas Disney was just looking at marketing and how can you get little girls to buy shit with princesses on it.
It's like Power Rangers. You give them different colors so you can differentiate them.
They did give the princesses different colors.
Yeah.
And
like the turtles.
Honestly, the wrong color. I could go on about the wrong colors of the princesses for a very long time, so we'll skip that. But they also live in just a void. It's not until incredibly recently that there's like any effort into actually intertwining them. None of them used to look the same direction. They didn't exist in the same plane of existence. And that was fine because, again, the only thing Disney cared about was making parents of little girls buy random ass shit. But they took that same logic and applied it across a superhero universe that was already established, already had like well-defined characters who do interact with each other outside of their one little bubble. Like there's plenty of crossover that they could have pulled from, and instead they applied this logic that didn't make sense. And unfortunately, Spider-Man 3, we're starting to see the poisoning, if you will, of that sort of logic where like you're so focused on making money from this movie that you're sucking all of the fun out of it.
Yeah, the studio's involvement just kind of ruins the creative intent that could have been there.
Absolutely.
So then in that regard, for me, and I wanted your guys' opinion on this too, of the cast that we get, I think Sandman is the most forced into this entire movie.
I still think it's Venom because at the end of the day, if you cut out Venom at the very end of the film, I mean completely cut him out, it would still end the same way. You could have easily had Sandman take on the two of them. What they could have done is either Sandman could have just split himself into two because he's done that before, or make Sand henchmen. I don't know. They could have had something. Having the two of them, really, if they needed to team up, they could have fought together. And I think the two villains would have been fine. I think the fact that they shoehorn Venom at the very end just seems so like a studio just said, we need to put this in somehow. Because if anything, if they really wanted to have Venom and they were so dead set, they could have saved him for the sequel. They could have just had Eddie turn into him, and that scene at the church, he could have turned into him, and that could have been the end of it. Maybe a post-credit scene, or maybe like once at the very end where he's watching the whole fight. It's like, okay, now I'm going to get you, Spider-Man. Like that would have been fine. Sandman, I think, works because I think they set him up pretty well. I liked his character, what he was doing, because except for that retcon, except for that when he killed Uncle Ben, that's the only thing I cannot stand in this entire film, because they had to find some way to connect him to Peter, because every villain had to have some connection. And I think I was saying earlier when I was watching, I'm like, just don't make any connection. He could have just been some guy who wanted money and he was interacting with Spider-Man. He doesn't need to be this inherently evil guy.
He's not a bad person. He just has bad luck. After he robbed a bank, or robbed the...
Yeah, seriously.
That was just so dumb.
Yeah. But here's the other thing. The first two movies do such a great job, like we talked about, on building both Spider-Man as a character, but also Peter Parker as a character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he goes from being such a weird, awkward teen to an awkward adult, but he's starting to get that confidence. He's starting to come into his own. Some people are just weird. Some people are just awkward. And unfortunately, Peter Parker, this version of him, is just a weird guy. And each time they build on that, there is a lesson that is taught. It's classic superhero logic to have some form of like, oh, well, if you're straight with Aunt May on why you're the reason Uncle Ben died, you learn a lesson, you grow from it. Could they have done it a little better? Sure. But like it had the desired outcome. We have moved on to a new lesson in life, and then we blame Uncle Ben's death on a different guy now, so it's not like the lesson didn't even need to be learned. It just kind of cheapens that whole thing.
Yeah. So my thing, I'm gonna kind of argue against you, Cal, is I think Venom would have been a better...
But just Venom. Get rid of everybody else.
Yeah. I can be on board with that.
If I had to choose between them, because here's what I think would have made this work really well, is Venom is this personification of anger and whatnot. It's him overcoming not just his own angers and issues, but when faced against someone who is truly angry, take that, and then he has to pair up with Harry to take them on.
Would have been more interesting.
Exactly. It means that this villain is such a strong thing, and it makes much more sense because this thing's from space. It's completely alien. It feeds off this pure anger that whoever we recast as
we gotta recast.
Yeah, it has to be done.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, it made it so much better rather than a 2v2 fight with Mary Jane as the hostage again.
God, we need to find a different woman in New York City to put into Peter Parker's life.
They did.
And they tried with Gwen Stacy, but it was all just for MJ.
They shoehorned another character.
Gwen.
A character who is in the Spider Universe. She's established. They shouldn't have had to try this damn hard. And yet they shoehorn her in, and she barely is involved in this plot. She's just there for convenience, really.
Could have just not had her in the entire film, and it wouldn't have changed anything, really.
I would argue that both women could not have been in this film, and I would not have cared.
Well,
no one needed to be kidnapped. New York is in danger, and we've established that he loves New York.
Yeah, he could have just had Sandman doing stuff. Yeah.
So here's the thing, and I'll continue why I think in this movie Venom is still the better villain compared to Sandman. Sure. Is she is like Brock is working as like that mirror to Parker. She's Brock's MJ. Brock is so totally obsessed with her. They had like tea one time, and he thinks that, oh, that's my girl. She doesn't think that at all. It's the same kind of stuff that you see Peter Parker with MJ in the first couple movies.
Yeah.
Like there's not really anything between them. There's kind of something.
It could have been such a great learning opportunity to really solidify what we as adults now looking back at these movies have learned. That Spider-Man and MJ should not have gotten back together in these movies.
They were so toxic for each other.
Oh my god.
This movie doesn't help either. This movie does not make the relationship great.
Down on that so much with the symbiote. I really noticed that as an adult watching this, because it's just not good at all. It's bad.
It's bad.
And here's the thing with MJ. She signed up for this. And granted, we have another time skip where Peter's very bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. Oh, I'm a great superhero, and now MJ's career is not doing well.
Which they picked a weird career for MJ in this movie, but whatever.
Yeah, I think her like leaving in the first 10 minutes of the movie is makes her such a horrible person. Not only did she leave this guy at an altar in the last movie, now she's left Peter because she can't handle the guy in her life is doing well and she can't be happy for him.
What a strange turn of events.
But here's the thing. So remember how like Peter is gonna propose to her at one point?
It's like the first 5 minutes of this movie, yeah.
I think it's a reflection that he was a bad boyfriend. Like that's the thing with like Peter. Every time he's trying to have something normal in his life, he just can't, and he can't learn that lesson. It's the same lesson over and over again, and he still keeps failing at it. I'm like, at Spider-Man 2, when Doc Ock goes to take her, he's like, I can't do this. Well, she comes to him afterwards and like, maybe I can do this. It's like, dude, you came to the realization in the last movie that this won't work, and you're still doing this. You're a bad boyfriend. You're putting your Spider-Man career over MJ obviously having issues.
Everyone's just a mess in this movie. Let's not be too frank about it.
There really isn't anybody, I think, besides like Aunt May is like kind of like morally good, because everyone, like, Peter is not good to MJ. MJ is not good to Peter. Harry isn't good to either one of them. It's a mess of people who are just not good to each other, and it all kind of just in encouraging their toxic behavior. Because, like I said, as a kid, I was like, wow, this is like the best thing ever, seeing Venom on screen. As an adult, I'm like, this has a lot more issues than I would like to admit, but there are some good things in this. It's a lot more bad than good, I feel like.
She on top of that, when they're having issues, she goes right to Harry, who was horrible to her in the first movie. And then like it just, Harry's amnesia also kind of feels like this dumb padding to like, we gotta redo this.
I hate movie amnesia 6 times out of 10. This is in the 6.
It didn't really do anything for this at all. Like, it really didn't help or hurt. It was just kind of there, like, now I'm fine. It for all like what, a half hour of the film as it is, it didn't really mean anything. If it was even a half hour,
it meant nothing, and it felt like an excuse from the writers to be like, oh, well, that's why he's leaning into the Green Goblin technology, is because his brain's kind of messed up a little bit. Don't worry about it. Like, oh, look at the amnesia. Ooh, sparkly lights. But at the end of the day, I didn't need the extra reasoning. You've already established to me in 2 movies why he is going to follow the path of his father and the Green Goblin. Just let it happen. Let him like have this idolization of his dad and how he must be just like his father to make him proud or have a connection to him in any way. Leave that and I would be just fine. The other one that like I was so disappointed with is we could have had such an interesting, compelling character with Sandman, as far as like, oh, well, he's messed up sometimes, but he's trying to be good, but then, it is really shitty luck. We have 3 other shitty luck characters in this movie all happening simultaneously. Can we please just focus on one of them?
Yeah, well, what it does too with him as a character is it changes him overcoming the death of his father and learning the truth behind that his dad wasn't a good man while he's putting him up on this pedestal. It ends up becoming him coming together with Peter to save MJ. It's not even them overcoming their issues and forming a great bond. It's, we gotta save MJ again.
Plus, it doesn't really make a difference because Harry dies, so all that kind of just went for nothing because he just dies in that fight. So if they really wanted to flesh it out and like make sure that they all grew, they probably would have lived through that. They probably would have had like a moment where they all like reflected on things. But nope, he died, and that was the end of it, and that's really all they did with it. So.
And here's the part that really makes no sense to me, as knowing that how heavy the studio was involved in this movie. Why kill one of your most marketable characters? The Green Goblin is such an easy
Hobgoblin.
You barely have to change the toys.
Yeah.
Excuse me, one had a glider, one had a really cool jetpack surfboard kind of thing, or snowboard kind of thing.
Again, barely have to redo anything.
It's so stupid. It's so dumb. But like, you make a good point.
It's the same logic as if they had like said halfway through the second Batman movie, oh, well, Batman and Robin wasn't doing well, so we killed Joker. That makes no sense. And that's essentially what they did, is they were like, oh, I can see how this isn't going super well. Let's kill the most compelling character that we have. We've only got 4 characters who've been around a lot, and we can't kill Aunt May, and we can't kill Mary Jane. So I guess we're killing Harry.
So, like, if they really wanted to, like, do what they wanted to do, like, someone like, if they wanted to show that these characters were gonna grow and actually reflected what they did, they could've just sent Harry off on, like, a vacation or something because he's rich as hell. They don't hide the fact that he's still incredibly wealthy. There's been other times where the goblin, formula got to him too much where he had to just go away, and it made him self-reflect on what he did because he had time to think about things. I think that could have actually worked better. There's one of the shows they did that where he went off to Europe for, like, a good, I don't know, 5 to 8 episodes where he just wasn't around for a good bit. And that could have probably been better because, like you said, Green Goblin was one of their big ticket items. When they had Willem Dafoe, they made sure to plaster him in those scenes, and they didn't want to hide it. Versus now, they kind of have no real reason to do so ever again because their only connection to the Goblin is gone. And unless they're going to do some really cheesy retcon, like, oh, he's still alive, that was a clone, but they didn't also establish that beforehand. So really, they shot themselves in the foot by doing that.
Yeah, and Sandman was also a really marketable character. He did make good toys. He made for interesting, like, kids performances. He made introductions to, like, the animated world where, like, this was his first introduction, made his way back around, and they just did such a shitty job that from an adult standpoint, you're not interested in Sandman.
Just sell a pile of kinetic sand with a
They
little
could
cutout
have.
of that
They
green
could
sweater.
just a body print of a man and just kind of mush him in there. Yeah, someone would have bought that for sure.
Oh, without a doubt. Some parent would have been confused and just bought it for their kid, not realizing what it was.
I mean, if you can think it, it could be made. But again, we have 3 villains happening all simultaneously. We have one that clearly the studio wanted more than anything because they then, after this one came out, it did not do great from the box office.
No. This is like the worst it had out of all 3 of them, I believe.
It did, which was really disappointing because they were really counting on having it be at least similar money making to the second one before they were going to prove 4, 5, and 6. And since this one didn't do well, they went, oh, we'll scratch that. Instead, we'll reboot Spider-Man entirely. Whole new cast, new director, new writers, the works. And we'll reboot Venom solo, which honestly worked out for them, but they could have been way cooler if we had just, like, slowed down and focused on one thing at a time.
Yeah, considering the first 2 films only had one villain really a piece, and that made it work because you could take the time to develop him. And like I said, I don't think Sandman really needed to have that connection to him. I think he could have just been some generic guy who just wanted to help his daughter out, but he didn't have to have that connection with the Uncle Ben retcon, which I'm really glad they honestly got rid of that in No Way Home. I'm glad they said, yeah, we didn't like it, and they just never mentioned it. They made one line retconning it, and that was the end of it. But
yeah, see, that's the other thing too, is like the last 2 movies had such great personal arcs for Peter that this one really felt out of place against those 2, because honestly, Sandman and Flint doesn't really have a good redemptive arc. He just gets forgiven because he's like, okay, I'll help you take out Venom. But it doesn't change the fact that he accidentally killed. He's still a criminal. He accidentally killed a man because he has bad trigger discipline, which, talking with my brother on that, I'm like, that's such a dumb thing. He's like, actually, that's probably more realistic, to be honest. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right there. But
he didn't learn anything.
That's why you assume guns are always loaded when that happens. For that reason, that's the first rule of guns. But
and what's he gonna do? He's a wanted criminal on the run. How is he gonna help his daughter out? Is he gonna sand travel to somewhere else to make money and send it back?
Yeah, his mom's not gonna accept it. Like,
well, and so one of I think the hallmarks for a good superhero movie that we really learn the hard way once we start getting to the really dark and edgy superhero movies is you really do have to have some form of, like, character learns lesson sort of story. Nobody learns jack shit in this movie. None of the villains learn anything. They just are like, well, if we team up, we can win. Okay, cool. That's not learning anything.
Yeah, we find out this one's weak to vibrations. Oh no, or sound. I don't see. That's the thing. I don't get which one's Venom's weakness. Is it the sounds or is it the vibrations?
The bells. I don't know.
Sounds. It was the sounds. Loud noises tends to trigger it, but yeah.
Is that canonically his weakness? Loud noises.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and for the most part, it's loud noises. Yeah.
Again, they could have had a very interesting Jekyll and Hyde sort of, like, tie-in because, like, the bells trigger Hyde. But
so all he had to do is just buy
EDM music,
foghorns.
Or just just yell at him a lot. Like if you had 10 people yelling at him at once, I would have done it.
Have everyone turn their cars on to Channel 4 radio and just blast it. Like this could have been very easily solved.
I'm just thinking of them making a circle around him and like Shaun of the Dead just yelling, "Bad symbiote, bad symbiote."
That would have worked.
I think that would have been better than what they did, honestly, at the very end. I mean, it still would have been funnier and would have actually made a little more sense, but...
Yeah, and like, Peter doesn't learn really anything in this movie at all, because the movie's barely about Peter, really.
Oh no, he learns something. He learns that if you can be an asshole, you can still get the girl. Actually, I don't even. That's the thing.
He learned that in the second one,
because they still end up together. Basically, it's hinted that they have the happily ever after together eventually.
Yeah, he doesn't learn anything,
and they do because they reference that in No Way Home. Like, yeah, we got together, we made it work. It was tough. They even reference that, so like it really does prove that you could be an asshole and get the girl still after what 2 did.
I mean, Venom doesn't learn a lesson. Aunt May doesn't learn a lesson. Who learns anything in this movie? No one. No one grows or adapts in this movie.
Can we talk real quick about the bad boy, Parker?
Oh my god!
Oh, I've been waiting for this. This is something I've been waiting to talk about because I have so many thoughts.
I need to know who styled this man.
Yes, please.
No one has ever claimed that they were the ones who said I was the one to slick his hair and pop his collar, but they need to be arrested.
Because let's be honest, that black on black suit is sharp.
I
don't wear it for that reason, just because of this movie.
I have seen other people online replay this scene, but like with better clothing and style and slightly better dance moves, and it is cool. Like, this is not like him not actually being cool. It's just someone slicked his hair in the worst humanly way possible and then also popped a normal man's collar. They didn't give him anything edgy. He didn't even go to like the thrift store to buy anything to distress himself. This isn't punk in any way.
He's not supposed to be punk. He's supposed to be higher class, up red. He went to a nice store that had a sale that he could afford.
And then he popped the collar and greased his hair across his forehead like a drunk uncle.
And then the disco thing.
Which, okay, but here's the thing. Part of why we love Tobey Maguire is because he is an forever awkward person, right? Mm-hmm. He was an awkward high school student, he was an awkward young adult, and now he is a supposedly 1 year older awkward adult. And so the dance moves, fine. But who styled his hair like that? This is a 2007 film. No one combed their hair this way at the time of filming. Emo was cool. My Chemical Romance was cool. We could have gone for one of their styles. Slick it straight up. Have a little spikes. Get it big and poofy and have it cover one eye. Do lots of things.
So much better. That would have been so much better.
Do literally anything else other than drunk politician hairstyle. What is this?
See, here's the thing that I took from this, and maybe that's just because of me, but the way I looked at it is Peter is still inherently the biggest dork in this universe, no matter what he does. He's still going to be that awkward guy like we mentioned. Honestly, I kind of interpret that as him just being cool. Because the whole time he's like, I got confidence, now I got this suit. I always took it as him thinking he's being super fucking cool, which is why he's doing all these poses, why he's trying to talk to these girls, but really, he just looks like a dork. Like, it's the same thing when he went into the thrift store, or the store. He thought he would look cool when he popped the collar up, but he just looks like a dork. And he just makes it worse. Same with the awkward dance moves. Same with everything. Because at the end of the day, the symbiote's supposed to like exaggerate your personality to a degree, which is why he still just kind of remains the same dorky, awkward guy. Just
an asshole.
Thinks he's cool, but him.
I completely agree with you. However, I feel like from a design and like production standpoint, we needed to pick one of the three things to do. Dance moves, collar, or hair. Pick one.
That hair did him no favors. Like, it kind of reminded me of like the Justin Bieber like hair flip, but that wasn't even a thing till like years later. So they did it before it was even a thing.
And popped collars were not a thing on guys. Popped collars were a girl's thing. If you bought enough Abercrombie and Fitch, you layered those suckers till you couldn't breathe, you were hyperventilating, and you popped at least 3 collars. But that wasn't a boy's thing. That was like a girl style.
You forget, Chris, there was a style at that era where boys popped their collar and then they wore those like stupid visor hats upside down.
I remember. Okay.
Yeah. We popped our collars.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
I remember. You're right. I forgot about the quote unquote beach skater guys who did that. However, I would argue that this is the wrong outfit. if he had come out wearing a polo and a visor, I would have been like, yeah, this makes sense. But they put him in a suit.
Well, maybe here's my thoughts on the greasiness of the hair.
Mm-hmm.
Someone saw Venom. Venom looks oily. He's influenced by him. He is very oily now.
Okay, this is the exact same thing that happens in the new Venom. They went Venom greasy, Venom goopy. We need Ed to also be greasy goopy. But you know what they did instead?
They cast Tom Hardy, who's sexy as hell.
Yeah. And everyone loves a greasy, sad, hot man.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, don't be wrong, Tobey Maguire had many fans, but it wasn't because he dirties up real good. It's because he's a cute nerd, and you cannot grease a nerd.
Nope.
Yeah, you can.
You just get a greasy nerd. You don't get a hot man.
Exactly. You can grease a nerd, but you just get a greasy nerd.
He's just a greasy nerd, and this really proves the point, because the entire reason the Venom franchise worked is because the writing was much better, the acting was much better, but also because they dirtied the correct man.
I think I need to watch the Venom movies now.
Again, they're not for you.
I know.
They're not for you.
They're not amazing by any means, but you might have some fun with it because Tom Hardy does really good with the role, but they're not great films. You have to just accept the fact that so the whole idea of these movies were, like Chris had mentioned, they were trying to reboot the Venom character, but they wanted to do a Sony Spider-Man universe. The problem is they didn't have a Spider-Man for this, so they had to use Venom as a Spider-Man, and it did not work. And when you have that lens, it just kind of makes a lot of sense why Morbius was god-awful, why Kraven should have never happened, why the Venom movies are just, they're okay, they're fun. I think I like just turning my brain off and not thinking about it, but when you think about it too hard, you're going to just hate it, so.
Yeah.
Your guys' lack of faith in the trash I will watch is disturbing. I watched the movie over the weekend. I rewatched this. It's a superhero movie about superheroes are a commodity. They're ranked. This guy's the lowest of the low. He's number 0 on the list because he's a drunkard and isn't really a superhero. And he has to overcome his issues to save
his
Japan.
Alcoholism.
Well, to save Japan from evil. There's lots of titties in it.
I figured. Yeah, see, here's the problem.
Right up your alley.
And arguably, I would say this Spider-Man is the start of a big wave of Spider-Man movies not being super great from kind of here on for a while. And it's because we try and push too much stuff in there. But on top of that, it's not truly bad. We have sat here and complained for quite a while now about this movie, but when you come down to the end of the day, it is not bad enough to be like, oh, have you seen this trash of a movie? Let's giggle at this movie.
Yeah, it's not Marvel or Sony's like, oh, Morbius has become a meme. Let's put it in a theater so it can fail a second time.
Yes, because don't get me wrong, I had such high hopes for Morbius. It turned out to be such garbage that then I made 2 other friends watch it with me. Because I was like, hey, you also like vampires. You're gonna hate this. Let's watch it to hate it. This movie is bad, but I don't feel the urge to watch it again just to shit on this movie. I'll watch it again because it's part of my 2 other favorite super Spider-Man movies, but not because it's so bad someone has to see this atrocity. It's just not good.
Cal, I have learned and figured out what we'll be doing with you next.
Oh yeah, are we watching Morbius?
Morbius, Madam Web, and Kraven.
I forgot Madam Web even existed. And this came out this year, I think.
I actually bought it.
It came out earlier in the year, 2024. I forgot it even existed.
Last year.
Yeah.
I forgot it existed. I tried to, I haven't seen it. Well, I guess I'll have to watch it now if you guys are going to recommend it to me, considering I knew I have to get around to it eventually.
Maybe watch it right before we review it.
But, Chris, back to your point, I do agree that is the thing is this one isn't terrible.
It's not the worst.
It is. That's the thing is it's bad, but in an entertaining way where it's that borderline where it could have gone really, really dumb, but it doesn't ever cross that line. It just gets goofy. And I think that's the issue is it doesn't get bad. It gets goofy.
Yeah. And the other thing that kind of sucks is, unlike a lot of these other ones we've talked about that we oh man, that movie sucked, and the behind the scenes is one interview with the director being like, yeah, I don't know, they just hired me, or one where someone put so much passion in it and they're like, yeah, I didn't expect anyone to ever watch my movie, we were just having fun. the problem is this one has so much behind the scenes stuff. The first two did so well. They're like, oh yeah, here's interviews with people. You can like read about everything. The writers even had like information out there about like, oh, we're so excited to be getting to work on this movie, and that ruined a lot of stuff because it showed the man behind the curtains essentially on what could have been a fantastic movie. So you just knew you were getting ripped off.
Yeah, that actually, it's funny you say that because when I was a kid, I used to heavily read Nickelodeon magazines, and like right around, I want to say like April or March of 2007, they obviously did one on Spider-Man. So they had interviews with all the actors, and that makes sense because they interviewed everybody, and they were all so excited to talk about it because everybody really thought this film would do amazing. And when it came out, like I even remember seeing it in theaters, like I thought it was the best thing ever. And like a year or two later, I'm like, I don't like this. I don't know why I don't like this, but it's just not as good. And then, as you get older and your brain develops, like, wow, this is just an actual dumpster fire. Like even like this, just it, like you said, it didn't go bad. It just got goofier and goofier with some of the things. Like I look at some of the scenes with like Topher Grace as Eddie Brock, and like that scene in the church where he's begging God to kill Spider-Man. Like that's just really goofy to me. Like
It's
or
so strange.
some of the dialogue, I'm like, nobody talks like this. That's why I kept laughing because it's just goofy. Nobody ever has ever spoken this way in the history of existing. And I think that's why, really, at the end of the day, like, I don't love Spider-Man 3. I think it's still, obviously, it's the weakest one, but there is just some special nostalgia to me, or just some, like, there are some very good things in this film. Like, I love the Bruce Campbell cameo. I look forward to it every time I watch these films. I love seeing him just do his own thing and have fun with it. Or some of the action, yeah, it's aged pretty well, but like you said, it's very goofy in some scenes. I'm like, where are you going with this? Like, what did you want to do with this scene specifically, or these characters?
Well, with that in mind, with Bruce Campbell in mind more specifically too, do you think Sam Raimi kind of took this in the route of success that he saw with the Evil Dead franchise, where Evil Dead it starts off trying to be very serious. Evil Dead 2 gets arguably much more goofier, not as goofy as Spider-Man 2, but we see the inklings of goofiness in Spider-Man 2. Then you get into Spider-Man 3 and he goes almost, not fully, but like, and more in line with
Mostly.
Army of Darkness.
Yeah, I see what
You
you're
know,
saying.
that kind of makes sense at the end of the day, because I still think the Evil Dead 2 is probably my favorite one out of all of them. And Army of Darkness, I don't think it's the weakest one, but I definitely see where he just leans so much into the goofy and the comedicness, because it just, this is my boomstick. It's just such a great line that I look back on, and that entire fucking film was just so goofy and over the top.
I also agree, but I also wonder if maybe some of the leaning into that style of his directing comes from how much the studio was involved in pushing him in certain directions. That like he's just like, well, if I can't do it the way I was originally gonna, I'll at least go back to something I know, which is a much goofier movie. And it's worked for him in the past, so I see why he would try and work that in. If he can't control the rest of the film, at least control the parts that he can.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, if it's gonna fail, it's gonna fail the way I want it to fail.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I can see it.
And Cal, I mean, you talk about he hated Venom's character. Maybe he wrote lines specifically poorly for him because he didn't want to have to do this character. So he's like, you know what? You get dumb shit.
I do kind of wonder because there's
Yeah.
no way that someone who is a fan of Spider-Man would miss such easy things about Brock and Venom's character that we're missing
Yeah.
in the movie. Like they're so far off from base.
I think I agree because, like, there's so many other versions of Venom out there that have been done, and while I think some of them are a little bit rushed, like they do such a better job, and clearly they're fans of it. And I can tell Sam Raimi is very clearly a Spider-Man fan. Just some of the cinematography he shows with the hero shots, just how much he really cared about these films when you watch the interviews. So that makes sense to me. Man, Topher Grace was just so miscast because, like, I think back to this, and when I was talking about it the other day, I'm like, oh, I remember it being not that great, but we'll see. And then as soon as I see Topher Grace, I'm like, wow, this is the start of the downfall, because you can just tell right away. Like, he kept saying the way he was just saying his name, like, oh, I'm Edward Brock Jr., sir. Just every time he said it, I'm
So
like,
weird.
nobody talks like this. Nobody talks like this. They're this pretentious and they're full of themselves, but like it just came off like, because usually it comes off as arrogant, but he just came off like he was snobby and full of himself for really no reason. So
Yeah, and one would think that enough time would have passed between his previous roles and this one and now that like I would have forgotten who like where he was from in other movies, or in a lot of movies' case, I don't really care. It's just kind of fun to see an actor play a certain role. This one just, it does not work. He feels so stuck in his previous roles before Spider-Man.
Well, do you think he should have taken the Daniel Radcliffe route and shown his dingling on stage?
Okay, yeah, actually, here's the thing. I know it bothers him that he's still seen as Frodo. However, after that, after a bunch of other super creative movies, after really putting the work out to prove that he is interested in film as an art and really, really put his name, his face, and his money to prove that, I think a lot of people do now recognize him just as Daniel Radcliffe, not as Frodo.
Yeah.
You're trying to piss off a lot of nerds aren't you? He's Harry Potter.
Yeah, okay, yes.
You called him Frodo.
Sorry, my bad.
But I like your point behind that, because at the end of the day, like, a lot of the fan casts for Wolverine, because we mentioned earlier that nobody could really replace Hugh Jackman, people put Daniel Radcliffe there all the time because he's grown so much as an actor that, yeah, I'd love to see him just go and do the most obscure things in the world. Like, he did this movie called Horns that I think he played like a dead body.
Have you seen Guns Akimbo?
Oh, God.
No, but I've heard of that, and I haven't seen it.
Wow. He plays an internet troll who gets forced into a game of life or death by getting guns nailed to his head.
Oh, that's where that meme comes from. Where he's holding the guns like oh my God. Yes. That's where that came from.
Well, and here's the thing. Not everyone has to fully redefine who they are to distance themselves from their childhood acting role. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying, though, is when I see an actor who is playing such a hard stereotype, it either comes off as like so funny as like, oh my God, I can't believe they cast this same guy, which is unfortunate and is what happened here, or it's more fun of just like, oh hey, look, you know, Sir Ian is in this movie again. I don't care what he plays, I'm just watching him, and that's fun enough. And like, I don't care if he's putting his all into it and making me believe that he is some great wizard or X-Men or whatever it is, or if it's just watching for him because I'm enjoying him as an actor. That did not happen in this movie. Unfortunately, it was just so... everything was so stiff. The lines were delivered so strangely. The acting and the shots were such a weird compilation that even after all these years, him being in a TV show that I barely fucking watched still outweighs this role. And that's not what you want.
Yeah.
Not from a big movie like this, where you have so many directors and writers who could have propped you up.
At the end of the day, they didn't really do anything to try to change his Eric Foreman look. Like, the only thing they really did was give him a haircut. Like, he looks exactly the same. He didn't try to like look any different. Like, if he tried putting on weight, which I would have commended him for that because he would look different, or if he just grew a beard or something, because he looked like one of the takeaways I had was this feels like Eric Foreman just trying to be like Eddie Brock right now. That's all I kept saying the entire time, because like they even make a joke in the show. He's like, "Oh, I learned how to fight from Spider-Man." I'm like, that's exactly what I kept thinking of the entire time, was just that line and just him trying so hard to not to be different when he felt exactly the same.
Or even do what we saw in the later Venom movie do, where that actor didn't change physically a lot, but we greased him up, we put bags under his eyes, we dirtied up, like we got the clothes to fit him in a certain way where you saw the D of like his crumbling nature as the anger and being in the symbiote. Like, how... prove that to me. Prove that throughout this movie. This man looks the same in scene 1 as he does at the end of the movie. And that's just lazy costuming.
Hey, he doesn't look the same. He's got now sharp, pointy teeth.
Oh boy.
That is a great job differentiating that.
Yeah, like there could have been so much more in every aspect of this movie, and a lot of it does make me wonder if some of the people working on this kind of knew that, like, oh, they say we're going to get 4, 5, 6. I don't think so, sort of mindset. There's not the passion behind it that there was for 1 and 2.
Yeah. So then, I kind of in a thought I had towards the end of this is the idea of comic book fatigue that we ran into post Endgame Marvel.
Hell yeah.
I have a good take on this, actually.
In rewatching this, do you think that us watching these back to back to back in close proximity has a little bit of remnants from that comic book fatigue, or do we feel that the comic book fatigue has worn off?
I'm still so tired, man.
I want to hear your take before I say anything. So
yeah, and here's the thing: I am guilty of watching a bunch of superhero films back to back. But I think part of the thing that helps keep that fatigue off is being able to kind of pick and choose between watching something really good like Spider-Man 1 or 2 and then balancing it with some garbage like Morpheus. And then come back to a completely different franchise, right? Like I moved on to Superman for a while. I watched one really good Superman film, went back and watched a garbage one from the 70s. And then I moved on to a completely different, not related in any way movie about a completely different superhero. And I think I did kind of mess myself up by I watched all three of these in one day. That was my bad. I really should have spaced them out like over the course of a week. Because yeah, by the time I got to the third one, I A had really high expectations, and B, I felt like I knew these characters super well. There was a pretty big jump in time between 2004 2007. That's enough of a jump for me to have like lost some of that connectiveness to this characters, to like how much I expect from this movie. And yeah, I think I shot myself in the foot by watching these so close together. I really should have spaced it out, and I should have watched a completely different franchise in there halfway through to like cleanse the palate, if you will.
I see.
So I kind of disagree with the superhero fatigue, and this is actually a recent thing that I've noticed because this is a big hear me out. We're not tired of bad superhero movies, or not tired of superheroes. We're just tired of bad superhero movies in general. Because when I really thought about it this year, and I'm going to be a little bit biased, but I'm going to use this year for example. Thunderbolts wasn't the best film, but I think it was pretty decent because it went back to basics. It didn't try to do this huge, well, it kind of did, but it didn't try to do all the like a world-ending threat that comes from space. It just picked a character who got experiments on, and it showed the group of the Thunderbolts who are all just people we've seen. Okay, that's a good. That was a decent film. Wasn't amazing. Superman, I absolutely loved, and I think did a great job with it. Fantastic Four, I also enjoyed it. Didn't think it was the best, but still they were all very consistently good films. Like there is a favorite of the three of them, but still, they were all very consistent with tone. They did a good job. That's what it is. Like if you look at the previous years, superhero films did bad because people just didn't give a shit anymore. Like there's a good amount of Marvel movies post Endgame that I've never even watched, and I haven't even given a second thought about. And we're seeing this huge boom of it because I think the strength of the Spider-Man films was the fact that there was really we were lucky to get what one maybe two superhero films a year versus now we're getting five movies, or let's say three movies a year, five shows, and so on and so forth. And I think at the time we were focusing on the quality, which I really appreciated. Now it's more of the quantity, which okay, great, we're getting a lot of things that are getting adapted, or we're getting more seasons, but I don't really need to see a show for every character out there. There's some, like I said, there was an Ironheart show that was supposed to be a spinoff from Black Panther. I didn't even know it was even happening until after it finished airing, and I looked at the trailer, I wasn't interested. And that's just me personally. If somebody else got a lot out of it, great. But to me, like I just didn't care for it. Or there's another superhero film that came out this year, Brave New World. I completely forgot it even came out. And like I said, it was not a great film because a lot of issues with the marketing and just overall it wasn't good to begin with. But people are not tired of that because Superman did incredibly well at the box office. Fantastic Four, same thing. Now, you can't always include box office because Transformer films have made a shit ton of money and they are god awful. They're fun to watch, but they're just god awful. So, to bring it all together, people are just tired of just bad superhero films because there clearly still is an audience for it. Like Superman did amazing. People are always talking about it now that I see. People are excited for the next one. People are excited for Peacemaker, supposed to tie into it. We just want to see good films again because people will gladly go back and watch it. I mean, I often thought it was because of COVID that killed movie theaters, but it kind of didn't. No Way Home made over $1 billion. Now we can say it was nostalgia. I'm willing to admit that it is partially that, but people still went to go see it and were happy to see it as it is. That really didn't happen at all. It hasn't really happened much since the pandemic started and ended. Like nothing's really been that big besides Deadpool and Wolverine, because again, that was a good superhero film people wanted to see.
So let me ask, what makes a good superhero film? Is it the message, or is it a pure entertainment value? Because granted, I haven't been caught up. I haven't seen anything past the first Deadpool movie. I mean, there's a lot of ones I haven't seen that I need to see, like Logan. But is it more like because for me, if we're going based off Marvel, My favorite Marvel movie is still the first Iron Man because it had a strong message to it, but it was also entertaining. Same with Black Panther, strong message, but also entertaining. Ant-Man, good message, entertaining. First Thor, fucking dog shit. Going back and rewatching Captain America, actually a good start because it's entertaining. It's a World War II movie with a superhero in it.
I can tell you what doesn't make a good superhero movie. And because this ties into what Cal was saying earlier. The production amount, the amount spent, and how pretty the movie looks, or the TV show looks, does not make good TV or movie, especially for a superhero franchise. And I know this to be a fact because I have friends and family who are like really into the Marvel universe, which like great for them if like this is your cup of tea, fantastic, but you have to recognize yourself as like an outlier as far as like a standard movie watcher, right? Because they will be like, oh my gosh, you need to see this thing, it was so good. And then I will watch it and I'll be like, well, the CGI is good, the lighting is good, like they clearly spent a ton of money on this, it looks great, it's boring. Like, there's no message to it. I don't care that it ties world A to world B or character A to character B. I don't care about that sort of thing. I want the thing itself to have an interesting story, an interesting arc, and compelling characters. And I could do all of that with half the budget and like way worse look and still be entertained and still have a good time. A lot of that goes back to like some of my favorite superhero movies are some of the old Batman or superhero or Spider-Man or the original Superman, because they were compelling. They had interesting characters. We wrapped it up nice and quickly. They looked like dog shit. Half of them are just people standing around and jumping really high. And that's like them flying. Okay, that looks terrible, but the message is very interesting. The story is good. The characters have developing arcs that are like compelling. I feel it feels like a realistic enough world for me to immerse myself and have an interesting and fun time. Whereas a lot of these newer ones, sure, it looks pretty, but man, there's just no substance to it.
And to answer your question, Nacho, I do think it's both the entertaining factor and the message, because I'm thinking of just the films I just mentioned to you, like Thunderbolts. It was really about just not letting your depression and anxiety overcome you, which it sounds like a really generic message, but the way they executed it actually came out really well. Or Superman, just being kind to others. Like I think that's what makes these films so good to me, because really at the end of the day, like you mentioned, you can watch a CGI fest, but it's going to be like what I said about Michael Bay's Transformers. They're really entertaining to watch because they're just giant robots fighting each other. But what are they even about? What's the point of these movies? They're just really just robots fight each other, which is just CGI. And I mean, that's great and all, but I want more than just that in my movies. I want to have a story. I want to have characters I care about. I want to see some good action. If it's just action, then I mean, I'll just go watch an action movie where I know what I want to get into. Like the John Wick movies, they're not the most amazing. For the first one, for example, it's not really the most amazing, well thought out film. It doesn't need to be. It's just a lot of martial arts, gun fu, and Keanu Reeves doing what he does best, because he's not really not a great actor. He's just really good at delivering action. That's kind of why, if I know what to get into, that's great. But if I'm going to go into a Marvel movie, I have these expectations that it has to deliver these things, which is really why I didn't like Brave New World. Brave New World had no message behind it. It really, like, it tried to do what Thunderbolts did about being empathetic and kind to others and not letting your mental illness take over, more like Superman did. But it just didn't deliver on it very well. So, which ties into the execution of it. So,
okay. Yeah, I can see y'all's points there. I think y'all are in a good point of they're putting all this money into lackluster movies expecting such a large outcome, whereas like the ones I've been drawn to recently, surprise, surprise, are tokusatsu, Japanese special effects movies where like they're relatively lower budget, there's less CGI used, and when it is, it's not very good. Like I'm thinking Shin Kamen Rider, Gun Caliber that I brought up earlier in the episode.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, you look at Ultraman, Big Man Japan, like all these like Big Man Japan's more special effects, or CGI. I mean, you go to all these other ones, and it's always this dumb, fun idea. Like hell, even the one Miike directed called Zebra Man. 30-year-old man trying to relive his ideals of being a superhero. I need to see the sequel still, that I've heard is actually pretty good too, but it's all these fun ideas instead of like oh well, let's have a message behind it at every single one of these, or the lesson you learn is what you take away from it, or something along those
Sure.
lines, I guess.
And it's important to balance out the fun entertainment aspect. You don't want something that's just a, feast for the eyes and nothing interesting. But I'm probably not going to watch a super philosophical superhero or villain origin story movie more than once. Yeah, it'll be great, and sure, it will probably win awards, and it'll be on a lot of like really annoying people's lists of top movies that they love. But how many times am I really going to rewatch Joker? Maybe twice.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to rewatch it for fun.
Well,
Fair.
there's not really a reason to at that point because it delivers the message really well on one watch. Like sometimes you want to rewatch because there isn't really any action in that film, and there really isn't anything that honestly makes you want to come back to because it's a very depressing film to me. It's just a character study on how society is. So, like you said, there's no reason to watch a deep film like that. You want to have it be entertaining, but also equal parts have a message. Because at the end, if it doesn't have one or the other, then you might watch it once and never watch it again, or you might not even finish it. So,
Exactly.
Yeah. So then, Cal, at the end of it, what do you rate Spider-Man 3 on the good, bad, weird scale?
honestly, I'd probably give it bad weird because there's some really weird choices, like I mentioned earlier. Some of the dialogue just sounds so unnatural, and I a lot of times I said like, who talks like this? Like nobody's ever talked like this. And when they did bad things in this film, they did it poorly. So I think it's a bad weird for me. I'll still enjoy watching it, but I won't go out of my way to watch it.
Okay. Chris?
For me, unfortunately, this one's just bad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have enough fun with this one to put it in good. It does have weird stuff, like Cal said, but to me, it's not weird enough to be like tickling that weird, fun fan like little aspect. Like, yeah, people do talk really strangely in this movie, but it's not so much for me to like put it on and be like, have you seen how they talk in this movie? It's so weird, so bad. It's just enough to really be off-putting. And so for me, unfortunately, it's just bad movie.
Yeah, I gotta go with good, bad because I do have fun with the dumb parts of it, especially
Sure.
like the goofy dancing and like
Sure,
all the
a
little dumb
classic.
stuff that it has going with it, and bad because obviously there's so much that you can tell the studio involvement. It's so different than what they were trying to go for with the other two movies, and it just kind of puts a sour note to the end of the whole trilogy.
Yeah.
I can't get into weird with it because while we've said there are some weird elements, it's not on the same level as a drunkard superhero who's obsessed with porno mags.
Yeah, that would have been much more weird.
Yeah, exactly. It's on a weird scale. It's nowhere near touching the weird superhero movies I've seen.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So then, Cal, usually we ask this with every movie. Would you recommend Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 to people?
I would because I think when you look back on it, it's a really good way to look at the 2000s and how very different society was. Because, like we mentioned, the entire film, there's there's product placement. Some of the action is really good. Some of it shows it's very early 2000 CGI where they were kind of there, but they weren't 100% there. And I still think the first two hold up incredibly well. Like I mentioned, in this world where we have so much superhero slop that it's getting to the point where I a lot of it people just tune out, and I'm very selective choosing now. Those are still pretty good. I had a lot of fun with it when you look at it from a different perspective on this is how Marvel was all the way back in the 2000s. It's a really great take on it, and it's a lot of people's nostalgia. It was a great introduction to the character, and I think it holds up well because some superhero films today, from at least like the original Superman, it doesn't hold up as great as I like to admit it was. Versus this holds up a lot better than I would have expected. So,
Chris, would you recommend the trilogy?
I would recommend the trilogy. I would not recommend the trilogy the way I watched the trilogy. This is not a Lord of the Rings marathon. Please space them out. Maybe do one a night. I feel like that's a better pacing than what I did. Yeah, this is by no means a long haul, 12 hours, no breaks. We plan when we go to the bathroom sort of situation. That was my bad. I won't be doing that mistake again. But I will watch all three again. I know I gave Spider-Man 3 a bad, but I'm still going to rewatch it. It's fun.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I think it's definitely worth rewatching, especially with seeing where superhero movies have gone, of this being part of that revival in the the actual serious attempts to make superhero movies outside of like the 80s and stuff. I mean, we had Blade before that was serious and solid, but
yeah, I mean, he was so cool. How can you not like that movie?
Yeah, and also while they're still trying to figure it all out and get that right balance of good, weird,
I think we're getting
comedy.
There. I think we're getting closer as the newer ones start to wind down, and I think they start to figure out that like we are tired of watching just constant random crap. This year we had a pretty good run of new superhero movies. I've liked most of the ones that I've seen in theaters this year so far. Granted, I'm not a TV watcher, so I can't speak to the shows. But I am hopeful that maybe we will see something kind of similar to how this one brought about like this new idea of what a superhero movie could look like in a set of 3. Maybe without the third one, though. We can do better. We know we can, and we will again.
Well, Cal, thank you for being on. I appreciate your time. It's been a long time coming, and I'm glad we finally got a chance to sit down and talk about this trilogy officially.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming on.
I am always glad to be on here, guys. It's always a fun time, and I had a lot of fun just going back to rewatch this again because I really had to look for things because usually when I watch this, it's always been, hey, I'm going to go do something. I'm going to have this in the background because it happens to be on whatever TV I'm using. But hey, I had a lot of fun with it, and I love coming out, and I'd love to do another episode. Whatever you have planned for me, because you said you had something in mind. I think you said it was Morbius, and well, I guess I'll have to finally watch it and just... I have to watch with some alcohol, but I'll definitely watch it. I just will probably watch it with a bottle of booze by me because when I saw those trailers, I'm like, I'm never going to watch this. I can't watch this. It just looks horrendous.
Yeah, don't watch other vampire movies and that one because, man, as a vampire fan, that one physically hurt me.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll watch Nosferatu, the most recent one by Robert Eggers, and then I'll watch Morbius right afterwards. I'll watch something really good, and then I'll watch It's Morbin Time.
Cleanse your palate with shit. All right, that's one way to do it.
Lower your expectations real far.
Yeah. But Cal, plug your stuff.
As always, I stream on Twitch, Kalloth0467. You can also follow me on TikTok, X, Instagram, YouTube that I don't use enough of, but please check me out on TikTok or Twitch. I tend to go live about 2 to 3 days a week. And I'm really feeling like playing a Spider-Man game again. It's been a while, and I think it's time for to replay something because I've talked about it endlessly with people recently. I should get back to something. It's been a while, so.
Yeah, definitely.
Hell yeah.
We've missed you.
I look forward to the next time, guys, but thank you as always for having me on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Anywho, this has been the Good, the Bad, the Weird podcast.
Thanks for listening.
Peace. Thank you for stopping by this here town of the good, the bad, and the weird. We appreciate your listenership, and if you want more of our takes in your life, feel free to check us out on social media at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, or TGTBTW for short. As well, if we missed a fact, your favorite part of a movie, or just have a suggestion and want to reach out and say howdy, feel free to email us at tgtbtwpodcast@gmail.com. And feel free to join our Discord at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, where we talk about movies, just share random banter here and there. And always check out our podcasters, streamers, or any other content creator we shout out in our episodes. We really appreciate it. And as always, thank you for listening. Peace.